we invite you to listen to one of the real cases in the city of Kurdistan, Iran. Please, people with heart problems and children should not listen to this story.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking into a really intense case. It's tragic, obviously, but also fascinating from an investigative perspective.
That's right. It's about how the truth got buried under, well, layers of grief and some very misleading injuries.
We're essentially dissecting a case from 1398 Solar Hijri, so that's a few years back, in Kurdistan, Iran. It involves the murder of a mother and her 2 young children.
And we're focusing on the steps taken by a very senior judiciary official there. He was the head of judiciary for the county at the time.
Yeah, our goal here is to trace how they figured it out, how forensic details, really small things sometimes, became the absolute key to unlocking what actually happened.
It's a stark reminder, really, of how assumptions can just, send an investigation down the wrong path entirely.
And why sticking to the physical evidence, even tiny details, is so critical.
Absolutely paramount. Science over assumptions.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. It's 3:00 a.m. This official gets called out to a village, kind of remote, outside the main city.
Right, 3 a.m. tells you it's serious. And the scene itself, the source describes it as this very humble rural house. Makwir Varuste is the term used.
Very basic and quiet, apparently, except for, crickets.
Yeah, crickets and the sound of a river nearby. Eerily quiet, almost.
Yeah.
When the team got there, only one neighbor was around, the one who actually called it in.
So they go into this small house, just one room, basically. And initially they thought, maybe one victim?
That was the initial expectation, but then they saw the preliminary police report, and the narrator, the official, he says he just froze.
I can only imagine. What did they find?
3 bodies. A young woman, the mother, and her 2 very young children, all killed, knife wounds.
Oh, God. 3 victims.
And that wasn't all. They found the father, a man named Haidar, nearby. He was injured, quite badly it seemed, but crucially, still breathing, just faintly.
Still alive. And the weapon.
A bloody knife was right there on the floor. Clearly the alati quatale, the murder weapon. They bagged it immediately, of course, for fingerprints, any trace evidence.
Okay, let's pause here. This is a nightmare scene. 3 dead, 1 survivor who's critically injured.
Exactly. And the immediate burning question is, who did this?
Is Haidar the father another victim? Is he a witness? Or is he the killer?
He's the only person left who might know anything. But he's also, logically, the prime suspect at this point. They have to consider that.
So what's the first move? Get him help, obviously.
Priority 1, absolutely. Haidar was rushed to the hospital, and the bodies of his wife and children were sent to forensic medicine, Pezeshki Yekononi. Standard procedure, but vital.
But this is where the official makes a really critical call, right? Something beyond just standard procedure.
Yes, this is key. He knew time was absolutely critical, especially regarding Haidar's injuries. He made a very specific request. He asked a forensic expert to go immediately to the hospital.
To do what exactly? Before the doctors?
To document Haidar's wounds in detail. Photos, measurements, descriptions. Before the medical team started treating them, stitching them up, putting on bandages.
Why was that so urgent? It sounds almost like interfering with medical care.
Well, he called it their only hope for discovering the truth. Think about it. If Haidar had inflicted those wounds on himself, maybe after killing his family, the nature of those wounds, the angle, the depth, hesitation marks maybe would be crucial evidence.
Ah, I see. Treatment could obscure all of that, erase the proof of whether it was an attack or self-inflicted.
Precisely.
Yeah.
They were essentially in a race against the ER doctors. It's a tough call, ethically fraught maybe, but from an investigative standpoint.
It was potentially the only way to prove Haidar wasn't just another victim.
Exactly. If he was trying to stage the scene, make himself look like a victim, letting that evidence disappear would be catastrophic for the case. A potential triple murderer could walk free.
That's a huge judgment call under pressure, so they managed to get the forensic expert there in time.
They did, and the next day, around noon, the forensic reports started coming in.
And the cause of death for the mother and children.
It was brutal. Complete severing of the neck arteries. Peregi yi ragi garden. No ambiguity there.
Grim. But what about Haidar's injuries? That was the crucial part.
And this is where it got, as the source says, very strange. Kaylee Ajib.
Strange how?
The analysis was definitive. The angle of the knife wounds, the depth, the overall pattern. It all pointed overwhelmingly towards one conclusion.
Self-inflicted.
Self-inflicted. Kurdistan. There was little doubt from the forensic perspective.
Wow. So that just flips the whole initial picture, the idea of an outside attacker. Gone.
Completely evaporated. The strongest hypothesis, now backed by science, was that the father, Haidar, had killed his family and then tried, or pretended to try, to kill himself.
So the investigator gets this report. What's the next step? Confront Haidar.
First, check his status. He called the hospital, spoke to the doctor directly.
And was Haidar okay? I mean, stable enough?
The doctor confirmed the wounds weren't actually life-threatening. Kari nabudan is the phrase. Serious blood loss, shock, fear, low blood pressure. Yes. But he was stable, recovering. He could talk, at least briefly.
So the investigator went to see him.
Straight away. Went to the hospital room, found Haidar very emotional, crying, couldn't make eye contact.
Playing the victim still? Or genuinely grieving? Hard to tell, I guess.
Impossible to know for sure at that point. Haidar confirmed his wife's family had been notified, which is, a standard thing to check.
But the investigator had the forensic report in his metaphorical back pocket. He knew.
Right. So he started gently probing. Asked something like, did your wife's family ask who did this? Who hurt your wife and children?
Trying to gauge the reaction.
And Haidar apparently broke down again. Deep grief or deep guilt, maybe both. But then the investigator deployed the crucial piece of information.
The self-inflicted wounds.
He asked him directly. Something along the lines of, the forensic team says your injuries were self-inflicted. Why did you harm yourself? Kadzani Kurdi.
How did Haidar react to that, being confronted with the evidence?
Surprise. Utter shock, according to the account. It was like the floor dropped out from under his story. The scientific fact just cut through everything.
And did he confess then?
It started to come out. In that moment of shock and vulnerability, yes.
Yeah.
He apparently cried out things like, I didn't want to kill them. I don't know why I went mad. I wanted to kill myself too.
He admitted wanting to kill himself.
Yeah, he even mentioned wanting to throw himself in the nearby river to drown, but said it didn't happen. The interview was cut short, though.
Why?
The doctor intervened. Haidar was becoming extremely distressed, understandably. Too much for him medically at that moment.
But the admission was there, the core of it.
The core was there. So a few days later, once he was medically stable enough, Haidar was formally arrested, brought to the court, dast handcuffs on.
And that's when the full interrogation happened, the full story.
Yes, he gave a step-by-step account and the trigger. It was depressingly mundane almost.
What was it?
Money. Financial stress. By Cooley. He came home from work already stressed about money. His wife mentioned wanting to buy some clothes for the kids, but said they didn't have the money.
A common enough issue for many families.
Absolutely. But for Haidar, in his stress state, it was apparently the final straw. He just exploded. Started yelling at her.
And she reacted.
She started complaining back, about his temper, how he was breaking her heart over something small. Then she did something that escalated things further.
What was that?
She put on her chador, her outer garment, grabbed the kids, and tried to leave the house.
She was going to walk out.
And that seems to have just sent Haidar over the edge. He described feeling this uncontrollable rage. He'd be panic about her leaving too. He grabbed her, grabbed the children, pushed her back inside the room.
He stopped her from leaving physically?
Yes, and he said her screaming. He used this phrase, said "Ashrafte bud to makambadash magzam mitrekid." Like her voice got into my head and my brain was exploding.
Just completely overwhelmed by rage and the noise.
Yeah, exactly. He went to a cupboard, grabbed a large knife, Chaguye Bazorgi. He claimed, initially at least, that he only meant to threaten her with it, to make her quiet.
But he didn't just threaten her.
No. He said he realized too late what he'd done, that he'd actually stabbed her.
So the initial act, the murder of his wife, stemmed from this explosion of rage triggered by the argument about money and her attempt to leave.
That seems to be the sequence, yes. Uncontrolled anger, escalating instantly to lethal violence.
But then the children. How did he justify that? The rage was directed at his wife.
This is the part that's just profoundly disturbing. His explanation shifted entirely. After he realized his wife was dead, he said he panicked.
Okay, panic is understandable, maybe. But what did he panic about?
She started thinking about the consequences, going to prison. And then he thought about the children. He reasoned in this state of panic and despair that if he was locked up, the kids would be avare, homeless, abandoned, that no one would look after them properly.
Oh no, so his reasoning was...
It was a horribly warped calculation. He decided the solution to prevent their future suffering and abandonment was to kill them too.
That's It's almost impossible to comprehend that leap. From rage at his wife to a decision to kill his children to protect them.
It speaks to a complete psychological collapse, doesn't it? He then confessed to killing both children. He said, "Hardutal bakamu galushin kuboidam." I cut the throats of both my children.
Unbelievable. And after that?
After killing the children, he decided to follow through on killing himself.
Oh.
He started stabbing himself with the same knife.
But obviously failed. What interrupted him?
The neighbor, remember the neighbor who called the police? They had heard the earlier shouting, the jidad, the screaming and yelling. They came over and started knocking loudly on the door.
And Haidar?
He was already fading from his self-inflicted wounds. He ignored the knocking, lost consciousness, and just collapsed on the floor.
So the neighbor eventually got in.
Yeah, finding the door locked or unanswered, the neighbor managed to get in through a window, found the horrific scene, saw Haidar alive, and called the authorities, saving his life, ironically.
Temporarily saving his life.
Temporarily. Of course, legally, his rage, his despair, his twisted logic about the children, none of it was any justification for the murders. He was arrested and held for trial.
But he never made it to trial.
No. The final, grim postscript came just days later. A colleague informed the judiciary official that Haidar had managed to hang himself in prison. Kodesho halkuviz karde.
He finally succeeded in taking his own life.
He did, ending the entire tragic cycle.
Wow. Okay, so let's try and distill this. What are the key takeaways for you listening to this deep dive? I see two major points emerging.
Me too. The first is just the absolute critical importance of meticulous forensic work and maybe trusting your gut as an investigator, but backing it up immediately with science.
Right. That specific, timely request to document Haidar's wounds before treatment wasn't just good policing. It was literally the hinge upon which the entire truth of the case turned. Without it.
Without it, Haidar might have successfully presented himself as a grieving victim, and a triple homicide might have gone unsolved, or worse, misattributed. It prevented a massive miscarriage of justice.
And the second takeaway, it feels like it's about the sheer fragility of, well, everything, when people are under extreme, unrelenting pressure.
Yeah, the human psyche, family stability.
Yeah.
This case shows how chronic financial stress, something so many people face, can erode someone's coping mechanisms to zero.
To the point where a simple, everyday argument about money for kids' clothes doesn't just lead to shouting, but to instant, catastrophic violence.
And then that violence spirals immediately into this overwhelming despair, leading to even more horrific decisions. It's a terrifying cascade.
So, as we wrap up, here's something to think about, a final thought for you to consider. Haidar's stated reason for killing his children, after he had already killed his wife, was this warped idea of preventing them from becoming homeless or abandoned.
Right, that chilling, protective justification.
Does that explanation, coming in that moment of extreme shock, rage, panic, and despair, does it offer any real insight? Was it a complete psychotic break? Or was it, in some incredibly twisted way, the ultimate act of possessiveness, destroying what he felt he could no longer control or provide for?
It's a deeply unsettling question about the limits of human psychology under unbearable stress. What happens when all protective instincts curdle into their absolute opposite?
Something to definitely mull over. That's all the time we have for this deep dive. Join us next time.